Barold Foxx was a simple man and very easy to please. He liked plain porridge for breakfast, his daily copy of the Dawnport journal, and his slippers and pipe in front of the fire at the end of a long day mining in the quarry. Barold's life was uncomplicated and life was good, until one fateful day an unfortunate mining accident almost ended his life, leaving him lame and stripping him of his livelihood. He lost everything. With no money, he was soon evicted from his modest home with nothing but the clothes on his back. He was homeless and penniless, and with his injuries had no way to find gainful employment. His life became bleak and hopeless, and he was just about ready to give up. Then suddenly, one winter's day, a day like any other before it, a stranger approached Barold as he huddled in a doorway trying to escape the cold. It was a courier bearing a letter with Mr. Barold Foxx written across the front in very fine writing indeed, finer than any writing he'd ever seen before. He turned the letter in his hands, wondering who could possibly be writing to a lowly peasant such as he. The back of the letter was closed with a wax seal bearing a decorative letter Q, a curious thing but not familiar to Barold in the slightest. Tentatively, he opened the seal and the letter and proceeded to read. Dear Mr. Fox, I'm writing to you as a beneficiary of the late Ignatius Fox, who has bequeathed to you in his will property within the city's central district and a modest amount of gold. This person was completely unknown to Barold, but it did not escape him that they bore the same surname. A will, an inheritance from an unknown relative. Was his luck about to change for the better? Steadying himself between the doorpost and his trusty walking stick, Barold somehow found the strength to rise to his feet, his body stiff from sitting in cold doorways all these long years. There was an address atop the letter, in pristine type font, which said Quistis and Quinn Solicitors. Barold recognised the street address as being in one of the finer areas of the city, and it was a long distance from the slums he currently called home. For 3 days, Barold slowly made his way across the city, stopping regularly due to his poor physical health. But finally, he made it all the way to Quistis and Quinn, their big white front door nothing short of heaven's gates for our poor pauper friend. The meeting was brief and seemingly unimportant to Mr. Quistis, who likely dealt with such matters many times a day, but Barold Foxx left those offices with a life so vastly different to that to which he had become accustomed, though he did not yet realise it himself. As stated in the letter received on that cold winter's day, Barold's late and very distant Uncle Ignatius had left to him a beautiful property in the centre of the city, and when Barold laid eyes upon it for the first time, he wept in disbelief. It was 2 stories high and shone brightly in the sunlight with its stone of white and many glass windows. There were wooden beams and a glorious high roof providing plentiful attic space. Could it really be that this beautiful place belonged to him? For 'twas surely a palace, and he was naught but an unworthy peasant. It was too large to be merely a home, and the thought struck Barold that he could use this newfound good luck to provide an income for his future. After all, the gold also bequeathed to him in his uncle's will was far from as modest as the letter had suggested, and he certainly had the means to fund a small enterprise of his own. Speaking with other local businesses, farmers and fishermen, Barold was able to set up his new venture, and before he knew it, he was the proud owner of Fox & Co. General Store. Thanks to the very desirable location of the building, the store was booming from day one, selling everything from seeds to potatoes to the freshest locally sourced salmon. The shop was bustling from dawn to dusk and was very profitable indeed. And as time passed, an even greater miracle occurred. No longer having to endure the bitter cold of winter's cobbled streets, Barold's health began to improve massively. He would still walk with a pronounced limp, but eventually his aches and pains were all but gone. Barold Foxx became a prominent figure amongst the city's traders, always well presented with the finest suits and his diamond-tipped cane, and always with a gleaming smile upon his face. Not one person would recognise him as the lowly, destitute, homeless man he once was. But he was still a simple man, and still very easy to please. He still likes plain porridge for breakfast, his daily copy of the Dawnport journal, and when the sun goes down after another busy day in his wonderful little shop, he reaches for his slippers and pipe and settles down, ever thankful for his good, uncomplicated life.